Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Amazon Ads Raw. Today we talk about advertising placements, and I've done this video already roughly half a year ago, or maybe 10 months ago. Today I want to do this video again because I just watched it and I found out that you guys couldn't see my URLs, and I was talking about URL spotting and how to match it to campaign types. So this is another video, and maybe something also has changed on the SERP. If you haven't watched my older video, I'm quickly going to recap one very important thing when we look at placements is the majority of people are actually not using the desktop. They're on mobile. If you check for how many sales and sessions are on mobile, this is usually the majority. So when we talk about placements, have in mind, this is mostly on the app, and the app looks different than the desktop. However, for me, it's much easier to show you the placements here on the desktop. Maybe I'll do another version for the app as well in the future. So advertising placements, and why is this important? I think for everyone that is doing Amazon ads, no matter if you're a seller or you're a PPC manager or whatever, or you're a brand manager and you need to do PPC as well, you have to understand what are the placements, where can my ads show up, and how do I get, how can I book these placements. So let's start. I search for creatine for women. The first thing we'll see here in the top is a sponsored brand ad. This very top section here is currently limited to sponsored brand and sponsored brand videos, so subtype or campaign type sponsored brands. And then the next section over here is sponsored products. Both these are top of search. This is what we call top of search. When we look into any placement reports, then either this or this is top of search. Everything else, once we scroll down, is rest of search. So these organic listings here is rest of search. Everything that comes here is rest of search. That's a very important distinction to make. Now, let's have a look here. We see top of search, sponsored product. There's 5 placements at the moment. In the past, there used to be just 4. Now, most of the time it's 5, but it depends a little bit on your search, on the category, and so on and so forth. So these placements are very dynamic. Not every time you search for something, you will have the same placement. Sometimes there's also less sponsored if the search term isn't as competitive. Obviously, creatine is very competitive, but there could be search terms where you don't see 5 sponsored ads. Let's say maybe your own brand. You have a small brand, you search for your own brand name, then maybe there's not even 1 sponsored. So have in mind that advertisement placements change, they are dynamic, and are based on on the category and on the search term. Right, let's go down. So this is top of search. This is a sponsored brand. I think it's just a sponsored brand collection ad, product collection ad. Shows free products. Then here, sponsored products. You all know this stuff. Then we have organic stuff. We can spot everything that is sponsored, obviously, by these little sponsored icons here. The interesting part is that there's also some widgets. So for example, this down here, picked by shoppers, is a widget. This is the whole widget are these 5 products. It's not just the first one, it's all these 5 products. And so this is kind of a, let's say, call it table or whatever, a div. And all of these are sponsored, and they don't have this sponsored tag on the individual products. However, this whole thing is sponsored. The interesting part about these widgets are there are so many different widgets. Picked by shoppers, 4 stars and above. Recently, I don't know, there's like promoted by our Amazon influencers. So there's many of these. Amazon is playing around with these widgets, kind of combining them. I've seen some, maybe let's scroll down. I haven't scrolled down here, to be honest. Usually at the bottom of the search, there's also another widget. Sometimes here, this is what I just meant. Pick from Amazon influencers, another widget, which is basically from let's say from a coding perspective, it's the same kind of thing. It's like a table, a div, whatever you want to call it. It has 5. It can also be just 4 or 3 sponsored products in it. And Amazon decides which products to put in there. based on the, let's say, dynamic grouping here. Picked by shoppers. Okay, people that bought these items. Posted from Amazon influencers, 4 stars and above. You'll see there's different things here, and there's no guarantee how to get into these dynamic widgets. However, they are rest of search widgets. If you want to figure out if an ad is actually a sponsored brand ad, a sponsored display ad, DSP, or sponsored product, the easiest thing is you can click on a product. However, you could also just hover over it. But let's click on one, and I'll show you what I mean. Every time you click on an ad, the ad is tracked within Amazon with a referral link. So the beginning of the URL is just the product detail page, and then you'll have ref, and then you get some informations. And here, this specific section, it will tell you on which number it started, so number 14. So if we go back and we count, we will see this is number 14. Sponsor product, search thematic, sponsor product ads. So search thematic is like this dynamic box. They are called search thematic, and then sponsor product. This is how you can figure out, is this a sponsored product, a sponsored brand, or a sponsored display placement? Now let's see if we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then this kind of appears. I don't know how they come with 14, maybe because there's like 3 here, 1, 2, 3, and then this would be number 14. So this should be number 15. Let's see if I'm correct. No, this is still 14. Whatever. I have no clue how they count. Maybe this is just count as 1. And you saw what just happened. I just went back. They changed. This changed. This changed. You see, so the search is changing. It's changing what is showing. This now is a sponsored brand video ad, as you can see. Video to store. I would even think, but let's see. We can just click on the ad. Let's see what happens. We'll get some ref SBX B Sparkle SSD image. Okay, whatever. I would say SBX stands for sponsored brand something. But that's not the point of this video. The video is more about understanding these different placements. This is obviously a video. This is a sponsored brand video. Let's click on the video to see how the URL looks like. Just to see if we can actually kind of read something out of the URL. Actually, this looks a little different than I was thinking. But yeah, we all know this is a sponsored brand video ad that goes directly to the product detail page. Yeah, interesting. If I click on the product, I'll get a different URL, and here I'm actually getting what I was thinking for. SBV search. You know, it's a sponsored brand video. It has number 15, which I think makes sense because this is number 14. The widget is number 14, then number 15, and then this should be 16, 17. Right, so we have another sponsored rest of search. This should be number 17. Let's see. Oh, well, it gets number 12. Whatever. I don't get. If somebody knows how these numbers are, I think they have some logic in them. These numbers, but I haven't figured it out yet. Anyways, okay, let's move on. Interesting. Here is another ad on the site. Sponsored ad. Let's click on that and let's see what kind of that ad could be. From the URL, we can see reference syn SD on-site desktop. So this is a sponsored display ad. Most likely could be a sponsored display category targeting, right? Or like product targeting. Let's move on. Let's move on because I don't want to over complicate the things. Another ad over here. This is probably also a sponsored display ad, sponsored display on desktop. All right, let's move on. There's also more. There have been some more here, some more of these ads. You can see this is an ad, this is an ad. Let's move on. Where do we see more ads, more ads, more ads? I'm just looking for the ads now, obviously, because this is all about advertising placements. Now we have another pick from Amazon influencers. I just showed you this originally. This is another widget. They're all sponsored product. Now we have some sponsored brand ads. You can see they are with the brand and so on and so forth. If we click on them, we might be forwarded to the stores. But even here, there is some kind of reference, reference thing, reference equals SB, and then a very long kind of hash. So it tells us is a sponsored brand. And here is another ad. Let's click on that ad. Most likely this is a sponsored display ad again. So sponsored display also has some SERP relevancy. However, those on the side, I don't see them often, to be honest. And this down here is like, very far away from people actually clicking on it because it comes after the page selection. So I think people would rather click on the next page than actually click on the ad down here. But let's go on a detail page because this is all what we have on the SERP. Now let's talk about the detail page here as well, because this is also very important. And I think from a performance perspective, the detail page performance, sponsored display has a very good efficiency on detail pages because they have this top stripe here, sponsored display / DSP. DSP has the same placements like sponsored display. I think DSP has one more placement, or used to have one more placement than sponsored display. And this top stripe is one of these placements. Another placement from sponsored display are these two down here. However, I also saw that this can be a sponsored product ad. Let's click on this ad and let's see if this is actually a sponsored detail or a sponsored product ad. And we can see SSPA is sponsored product ad. So this is actually not a sponsored display ad placement. However, I think it depends a little bit on the category. They used to be more sponsored display / DSP ads. Now Amazon has changed something in the last couple of weeks. This should be a sponsored display ad. Let's click on that, a rectangle. But it's also sponsored product in that regards. Interesting. All right, let's go further down. We have placements down here. They can be organic or they could be paid, right? So usually have like this and then frequently bought together. Sometimes you don't see them sponsored. If they are sponsored, they are usually sponsored products. So let's click on that and let's see what reference we'll get here. Where's the ref? Ref SSPA, sponsored product ad. I believe SSPA stands for sponsored product ad. I'm not, I think these are sponsored product PDP. Then we have another dynamic widget carousel. This time it just shows 5, but sometimes there are more deals on related product. This is also kind of dynamic. Sometimes it's deals on related product. Sometimes it's a different grouping. They are all sponsored. If we click on them, we'll get another ref SSPA, so it's another sponsored product kind of thing. Then we have like the A+ content, the brand story here, and A+ content. And when we scroll down, we'll find different placements. Sometimes these are sponsored in here as well in the videos. Also, they seem to be like a sponsored product ad, ref SSPA. Down here, then we have another related product with free delivery on eligible orders. So these are very dynamically changing, as I said. All of them are sponsored. And I think it's also kind of depending if you're logged in with Prime or not. I'm currently not logged in with a Prime account. So this is also a sponsored product ad. Obviously, this is a sponsored brand ad. You can see it from the image already. Similar brands on Amazon. These are sponsored brand video ads. Now let's scroll down. Sometimes you're getting an ad here. Exactly. This should be a sponsored display ad. Whoop. Just forwarded me without any Interesting. Without any reference. That is interesting. Why I'm not getting any reference here. It says sponsored, but when I click on it, it feels like organic. Anyways, this is usually like a sponsored display ad. You can do this. What I'm doing here, you can do it yourself and just check it out. As I said, sometimes they are changing. Another sponsored brand ad. But let's see if we can verify that from the reference. Well, I'm not 100% sure. Reference, there's different reference things here. Nothing that screams sponsored display or sponsored brand. However, I'm almost sure that this must be, well, let's not say I'm almost sure. Anyways, let's come to a conclusion here at the end of the video because we're already at 16 minutes. I think what I want to tell you with this video is check Amazon, check the sponsored placements, check out, understand them, understand what is top of search, what is rest of search, what is product detail page, where do my ads show up. Then go to the advertising reports, download the placement reports for the different campaign types, and then kind of check your search terms. Go to Amazon, check your main search terms, figure out, look from a customer's perspective and figure out, hey, where do my ads show up, and kind of understand them. I think this is very important for anyone that is doing PPC, is understanding these different placements and how do they come together for the different ad types. You know, understanding, is this sponsored display or is this sponsored products? I used to believe that all of these are sponsored display. You know, today we clicked on them and they didn't look like a sponsored display. I used to believe that this, and this are 100% sponsored display or DSP. And today I got kind of at least questioned, are they really just sponsored display? Maybe they're also sponsored product. And if they are, you know, if they are sponsored product, then my whole belief I used to have for the last 2 years that sponsored product doesn't has good placements on the product detail page has changed. So maybe Amazon changed that because they saw that not many people are using sponsored display, not enough in their opinion. And then they figured out, hey, why don't we just, you know, change the placements and make them also appear, you know, make sponsored products also appear on those placements, because the carousels they used to have here, I don't see any today. They seem to not work. They created just too much impressions and no sales, and maybe they are better sales drivers. Who knows? Stay curious, learn, figure out, and that's it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.